Good morning and welcome to the shed. So before I start the main video, just a quick explanation where I've been for the last 2 or 3 months. Basically, beginning of December I got a new job, so I've been concentrating on that. Also, it's been bloody cold. Even with the fire going, it's really cold in here. So yeah, that's my excuses. So what I'm going to try and do is perhaps do 1 video a month while I'm in this job. Maybe a bit more often if I can, but I'm not going to try and pump out 1 a week like I was doing before. Okay, that's it. Apology over. Let's get on with the video. Most of this video was filmed back in the autumn, so this is just to finish that one off and get us back on schedule. Okay, here we go. Good morning and welcome to the garden. Today we're going to do a, what do you call it, upcycling? No, a remaking project. So this bench that I'm sitting on is basically what we call the Grandads bench. So the reason we call it that is that the bench was made by my dad, so my kid's granddad. But the parts, the legs, came from their other granddad, my father-in-law, and they sat in a shed in his garden in North Wales for, I don't know, 50 years probably. I don't know where they came from. They're cast iron, they're solid. I'll show you them in a minute. They look like an old railway bench or something like that, or a big posh garden bench. Anyway, so the bench represents the joining of the 2 families. So my dad made it with some wood, and the parts come from my wife's dad. So this is the Grandads bench. The wood is well rotten, so we're going to use some recycled pallets and rebuild it today. This bench sat in my parents' house before my dad died, in Eastern Lodge, which if you go back to my very early videos you can find out a bit of history about that. But it's sort of lovely old stately home gardens. I've got a photograph of it in situ, which I'll put here somewhere. So this is what it looks like before. You can see that's in a right old state. I mean, it's hardly holding together, but it is just 4 bolts each side. Should be easy to take apart if I can get the nuts undone. I guess this was an old railway sleeper or a bit of timber my dad had lying around. And these are the legs, heavy cast iron legs. I'm not sure where they came from, other than they were in a shed in North Wales. Sorry about the road noise. One thing I should say is the legs aren't from a matching bench, or they're from. They don't look like they are because they both lean to the left. So there's a piece on the back here which suggests it's 2 legs from 2 different benches. I'm not sure. I'll show you that in a bit more detail. So you can see this little nodule bit here comes to the left, or my left, and so does this one, whereas really I think one should go one way and one should go the other. Not quite sure what this bit on the top was. Maybe it's a sort of an old seaside bench or a railway bench. Llandudno or Llandudno, Aberystwyth. So the first job is to cut some wood, so let's get in the shed and do that. So the bench is 140 centimetres wide. I'm going to be cutting planks 70 centimetres, and then we're going to do a staggered build when we do our laminations or stacking of the planks or boards. So I've got a guide here at 70 centimetres, which is fixed with a couple of screws to my sledge. I'm just going to square off the edges of each board and cut them down to 70, and then we'll do some further boards at 35 to go either side of the 70s, if you see what I'm saying. Okay, we are back in the shed. All the pieces are cut down, so we've got a load of lengths. I'm not exactly sure how many, at 35 and a load at 70. They do vary in thickness. I do not have a thicknesser jointer to get them all down and nice and smooth, so I've got to decide if I've got enough clamping pressure to get glue in there, or whether I'm going to have to flatten each board. I think there's going to be a bit of both. Okay, let's lay it out and see what we've got. So this is how it's going to work in my head anyway. We need 27 centimetres, sorry, 17 centimetres for the width. Doesn't seem very much, does it? Have I got that right? I'm going to go and check that. Good job, I checked. It's 27 centimetres. I thought that seemed a bit narrow. Okay, so we'll have 2 pieces like so of equal thickness, which those 2 aren't, but I can show you the plan anyway. And another one in the middle like so, and then 2 inner pieces of the 35 centimetres on the end. We keep going, repeat like so. That's not what I mean, is it? 2 of those. Again, let's build it all the way across, see how much. I've matched them up into sets that work. So all I've got to do is just choose alternative sets as I go, level them up if needed. This one needs a little bit of leveling up. That's in a bit of a rough state anyway, so that's not a bad thing. So almost straight away I've come across a problem, and that is that the bits of grit and dirt in the poor wood are nicking my blades. Actually the record looks alright, it's the Stanley that's suffering. Maybe I just need to keep them cleaner. Okay, it's going to be a long process, but at least they're nice and tight. So the best method is a light go over with the scrub plane, take the muck off, then finish off with the 4.5, record number 4.5. Okay, let's see how a good way of getting this clamped up. So a sort of a clamping solution I've got in place using my bench hooks and some heavy lead. Managed to get it level. Now I've established something solid, I can clamp it up in the vise, and I can now get some proper clamping pressure on here, so it should be easy from here on in. I'm just going to do it in layers of 2 or 3, probably 2, won't take long. I am using the waterproof glue, but I realise that pallet wood is probably not the best for an outdoor bench, but we are going to soak it. We are going to use a lot of coats of exterior varnish, so I think we'll be okay. Right. Okay, we're back in February now, the present time. As you can see, I finished gluing up the slab for the main part of the seat. A couple of disadvantages of the pallet wood. All right, it's cheap, but there's quite a lot of twists, knots, holes, bits and bobs that you have to sort out. So yeah, it's okay for an outdoor bench. I'm not sure it would work indoors unless you're building a hipster coffee bar where it would be perfect. Okay, let's finish that off. I've tried different planes. My very old Matheson plane actually does the job beautifully. It's really, really nice for smoothing, but it is a smoothing plane. However, it's not so easy to adjust, so I'm hardly taking anything off there because I've already got that flat. So on this side, I started playing around with adding some stain. It's going to be too light like this, but I found that was a bit too dark, so I just sort of took that off again. And this side, I've also filled some of the gaps. So that's what we're going to do today. Get the rest of the filler on there, and then sand it down, stain it. And then varnish it heavily. Got some Common or Garden Ronseal wood filler. Added a bit of water to make it nice and smooth. I'm just going to go over all the holes and fill them. I think if it was an indoor bench, I'd probably use an epoxy and do it properly. It's time to do some sanding and get some finish on there. I've got some stain, and then we'll give it a couple of coats, well, loads of coats of exterior. This one. I don't know if you can hear that wind, but it is, I think the technical term is blowing a hoolie out there. Okay, let's sand it. Okay, let's get some stain on here then. Just going to do one coat on the bottom just to see how it comes out first of all. Yeah, that's about the sort of colour we're after. Am I the only one who starts the job and then remembers that they need to put their gloves on? I doubt it. Okay, that's the seat done. I think it's called the seat. I'm going to give it probably one more coat of the stain and then a couple of 3 coats of varnish. Does anyone say couple of 3 anymore? That's a proper Essex term, that one, isn't it? Yeah, so a couple of 3 coats of varnish and we'll be ready to go. Next video I will do the back of the seat or back of the bench, and I'll have a new machine to show you as well. Hopefully that will be working. So between this video and the one where I do the back of the seat, there's going to be a couple of videos with a machine that I've purchased that's going to be winging its way down from Scotland. I won't tell you what it is, get a bit of excitement going. I've got to get it working first, needs a couple of things fixing on it, and then we'll be using that to help us make the back of the bench. Okay, thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.